Welcome back to our YouTube channel, The Book Digest. In today's episode, we're diving into a powerful and practical summary of one of the most influential success books ever written, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Now, this book came out nearly a century ago, but its principles are still shaping entrepreneurs and leaders all over the world. This really isn't just a book. For millions, it's a complete blueprint for achievement. Okay, let's get into it. So, the entire philosophy of this book, and I mean all of it, hinges on this one pretty radical idea. Thoughts are things. What Hill is arguing here is that a focused thought, when it's backed up by this intense desire and a solid plan, can literally, and I mean literally, turn into its physical material equivalent. It's a huge claim, right? And in this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly how his system is designed to make that happen. You know, to really get this book, you have to picture the world it was born into. We're talking 1937, the absolute height of the Great Depression. People everywhere felt completely powerless, just watching the economy crumble all around them. And it's into this total chaos that Hill comes along with this revolutionary message. Your success isn't dependent on what's happening out there. In this slide right here, perfectly captures that shift in thinking. On the left, you've got the common belief, right? External stuff, the economy, your job, that's what creates wealth. But Hill's philosophy over on the right just flips that completely on its head. He says the real creative force isn't the stock market, it's your own internal mindset. He basically moves the source of power from that chaotic outside world to the one thing you can actually control, your inner world. Okay, so if your mindset is the true source of wealth, what's that mindset actually built on? Well, according to Hill, it all rests on two foundational pillars. Everything else he talks about is built right on top of these two: an intense desire and an unshakable faith. Now, when Hill says desire, he does not mean a casual wish, like, I'd like to have a new car. No. He is talking about a burning desire. It's this all-consuming obsession that becomes the single organizing principle for all of your thoughts. For him, this is the absolute, non-negotiable starting point for any and all achievement. And the ultimate example of this is a guy named Edwin C. Barnes. He literally showed up at Thomas Edison's laboratory with empty pockets, no connections, but a mind that was totally consumed by one single unshakable goal: to become Edison's business partner. He had no idea how, but his desire was so intense that he just refused to consider any other possibility. And he eventually made it happen. That right there, that's a burning desire in action. So, how do you actually build that kind of desire? Well, Hill doesn't leave it up to chance. He gives us this 6-step formula. You should think of it less like a simple to-do list and more like a contract that you're making with yourself. Each step is specifically designed to take some vague wish and forge it into a concrete, non-negotiable goal, basically programming it right into your subconscious mind. The second pillar is faith. And for Hill, this is not some passive hope. It is an active mental state. It's the total, unquestioned belief that you will achieve your desire. This isn't something you just sit around and wait to feel. It's something you have to deliberately build, like a muscle, until every single shred of doubt is just gone from your mind. So if desire is the fuel and faith is the spark, then what's the engine that makes the whole thing run? Well, he argues it's all about actively programming your mind to work for you. And he lays out the specific mechanics for exactly how to do it. The main tool you're going to use for this is something called auto-suggestion. Think of it like a direct communication channel, a hotline between your conscious mind, which is where you set the goal, and your subconscious mind, which is what governs all your actions and habits. It's how you deliver direct instructions to the part of your mind that actually goes out and gets things done. And this slide shows the most crucial ingredient, the part most people miss. You can't just repeat words like a robot. The subconscious mind doesn't understand logic. It speaks the language of feeling. You have to actually feel the success you want. You have to visualize it with real passion for that message to be accepted as a command. But just programming your mind is only part of the equation. You also need the right tools. And this is where Hill makes this really sharp distinction between what he calls general knowledge, which is just knowing a lot of stuff, and specialized knowledge. Specialized knowledge is organized and applied directly to your plan. One is just potential power, the other is actual power. Okay, so you've programmed your mind with desire and faith. You've figured out what knowledge you need to get. Now what? Well, this next phase is all about translating that internal state into a concrete external strategy. This is where the blueprint really starts to take shape. And a huge part of that blueprint is what Hill called the mastermind. He was absolutely adamant that major success is almost never a solo act. By forming an alliance with other people who share your purpose, you create what he called a third mind, a kind of collective intelligence that's way more powerful and creative than the sum of its parts. Hill also zeroed in on this critical habit that separated the achievers from the dreamers: decisiveness. He found that successful people make decisions quickly and confidently. They trust their own judgment. And this is the complete opposite of what he called failure consciousness, which is just marked by constant indecision and being easily swayed by what everyone else thinks. All right, you've got the mindset, you've got the plan, you've got the team. But what happens when you inevitably hit a wall? Because you will. This brings us to the fuel that powers the entire engine, the one quality that separates those who succeed from those who almost do. So, after studying thousands of people, Hill asked this very question. What do you think it is? What is the number one reason people fail to achieve their most important goals? The answer is so simple: a lack of persistence. And it's usually not some big dramatic moment of quitting. More often, it's just this slow fading of effort, a gradual acceptance of all the obstacles, until that original burning desire is just a faint flicker. Persistence is the only thing that can fight that. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important piece of this entire puzzle. See, all of these principles we've talked about, they're completely useless if they're paralyzed by our own internal obstacles. The final battle is always against the enemies we have inside. Hill identified what he called the 6 ghosts of fear. You can see them right here: the fear of poverty, of criticism, of ill health, of losing love, of old age, and finally, the fear of death. He believed these are the fundamental, often unconscious, anxieties that just sabotage our ambition before we even start. They create a state of indecision and doubt that makes taking real action pretty much impossible. And honestly, this is the ultimate takeaway. The whole book, the desire, the faith, the planning, the persistence, it's not really just a wealth creation formula. It's a comprehensive system for building the mental and emotional strength you need to conquer these foundational fears and finally unlock your real potential. So the book gives you the blueprint, the step-by-step instructions. But just knowing it isn't enough. The real work starts now. The final question isn't whether the system works, it's which one of your own fears are you going to choose to conquer first.